Hot is presented by Botano. The game starts now. Here are your hosts, Brent Wallace, Jason York, and Bobby Ryan.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Coming in Hot, presented by Pitto. I'm Brent Wallace alongside Jason York and Bobby Ryan, two longtime Ottawa Senators. And boys, tough loss for the Sens this weekend. We'll get to that in a sec. Colby Armstrong is going to join us. Look forward to always hearing from Army. By the way, the first guy to ever call me Wally on live national television. So we'll get to that later as well. Lots of stuff to talk about. So, gentlemen, before, I guess, you know what? Let's get right to it. The Sens lose. The winning streak is snapped. Artem Zub is hurt. JBD is in. Alex DeBrincat comes to town. He's now the leading scorer. He scored a hat trick on Sunday. He's unstoppable, Yorkie. What did you take out of that Detroit game?
Well, one more thing. How about my former captain, Johnny Howie, at Sens practice today, Wally? From Ottawa U. They had 2 call-ups today at practice. 2 D-men. That's you know what? I know people hate it. But I'm going to tell you, for those young guys, Peter Stratus is going to, it's making their year. Like, it's awesome. So, anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Had to give Johnny a shout out.
Well, don't you remember when Gord Wilson, TSN 1200, for those who don't know, would sometimes fill in as goalie? It was like,
yes.
It was a huge thrill. Like, yeah.
Because this is, correct me if I'm wrong, early in the year, it's a little different. But as the year goes on, something to break up the daily routine and mundane of putting your skates on. So when Gordy would come out to practice, guys would just love it. They'd start shooting, not hard, but just start whistling a few by his ears, laughing.
Buzz the tower early.
Oh yeah, it's awesome because, believe it or not, players do get bored of everyday routine practice. So to do something like that, it fires the guys up. So I love it.
Well, we used to have Pete Peters as a goaltending coach who obviously played in the league, and he would put the gear on every practice and hop in to give the other goalies breaks. But then he was coaching and then coming off to the side, and then at the end we'd do 3-puck or whatever, and Pete Peters would be in there in full gear at 60 years old. It was amazing.
Love it.
Before getting further, we are live today, by the way, gentlemen, on Twitter or X, I guess, and on Facebook. If you haven't joined our Facebook page, go ahead. Coming in Hot Sens, you'll find us. And Doc Chow used to also put the pads on and go out.
Hauser,
yeah. Did you? Now, was he ever on the ice for you, Bob?
Oh yeah. I've shot on him quite a bit. He played an amazing amount of goalie for us when me, Clark MacArthur, Chris Neal, we were all hurt. Alfie was in town kind of getting us ready with Dono, and he was our goalie every day. And 3-on-3 games would get heated because all of a sudden Chowser would play well for a stretch.
Chowser, I love it.
He's such a good dude. And I mean, it's funny to have your doctor who's doing did he do the hand surgeries on you?
No.
Okay. I was going to say they have the doctor do the surgery on you, and then he's also trying to shut you down from scoring.
Yeah, no, he's taken me to a lot of other doctors to look at, to be like, why does this one keep breaking?
That's so good. I get okay. So Yorkie, aside from that, the game.
Let's get back to it. Yes.
Alex, but
who would you like to know?
We should get to the Ridley Gregg hit as well.
Who would you like to know, Wally?
I don't know how the Ridley Gregg hit is a penalty in any shape or form, but he did drill Alex DeBrincat into the boards.
Yeah. Awesome hit. Nothing wrong with the hit. Ridley Gregg, who I thought was tremendous in that game, one of the few bright spots for the Senators. I thought he was great. Talk about him a little more later, but here's the thing. Early season hockey in the NHL is pretty much awful because the refs are calling so many friggin' penalties. Like that Sens game, I tweeted it out. It was completely butchered by the officials. That's not why Ottawa lost. But Bob can tell you, when you're continually penalty after penalty after penalty, there's no flow to the game. Fans aren't paying money to watch 11 power plays for either team. And it's awful hockey. The start of that Senators game was amazing. There was buzz. There was a full house. Guys were flying, finishing hits. And all of a sudden, and listen, I don't love to shit on the refs, but just like the players, we need to be honest when they're bad. And they were awful. They were awful in that game. They destroyed a good hockey game. And like I said, that's not why Ottawa lost, but it was just ticky-tacky stuff all over the ice. And then, when you make a bad call, then you try and do a makeup call, then it just gets worse and worse and worse. So
yeah, they get in that pattern.
Just a terrible game to watch.
Well, it's a third of the game is lost on special teams. And then if you think about that, the guys that aren't really involved in special teams, you're trying to get them rolling. So you add another 4 or 5 minutes to get some guys back into the flow of things. You're at 30 minutes and the game's done. It's like, you have half a game left, but it doesn't feel that way.
The worst is when I remember I was coaching junior hockey and you get into one of these games and you're trying to, because as a former player, you're going to lose some guys if you don't get them on the ice. Don't get their legs going. You're trying to, I got to get this guy out, got to get this guy going. And all of a sudden it's just mumbo jumbo. But it's too bad. Full house. That game had a lot of potential, but that's what the regular season is like early on. Traditionally, there's a lot of penalties, tons of special teams, much softer brand of hockey. You take this game that we just saw and you compare it to a game that we're going to watch in June this year, it's going to look like two different sports.
Yeah. Could not.
I don't know about you guys, but I like the hockey in June a lot better.
Yeah.
The problem is if you play that hockey all year long, 82 games, your body's not going to survive. Yeah. It's humanly impossible to play that hard for 82 games.
Yeah. There were a total of 32 hits in that game, 20 by Ottawa. It just that, and by the way, that seems down to me. So it did seem to take the flow out of it, which means you don't know whether you're supposed to hit guys or not hit guys. No. I agree. However, that being said, if you're good enough, you'll win the game, and they weren't good enough on Saturday to win that game.
Well, that's the old age saying, right? It's good teams don't find a way to lose those kind of games, and that's true in some areas. But when a game gets the game got lost in power plays, and a lot of times games will get off kilter, and you can feel it on the ice, but it'll come back, and it looked like nothing was going to come back in that one. Like it just looked like it was a lost game early on. And I have only caught snippets of the game. I had my kiddos and we were hanging out, but there was no flow. There was zero flow, and it's a shame on a 2:00 game in Ottawa that it's that way, right?
And then and when Ottawa did get opportunity, let's give some credit to Ville Husso. He was tremendous in that game. As the game went on, it was evident that he was just going to lock it down for them. So that's the thing. You get a goaltender, he can win you some games. Everyone's crapping all over Korpisalo. Yeah, a couple goals late in the game weren't great. I thought early on though he made some key saves at key moments, but so far in his little body of work, not a great start. But let's pump the brakes here. Let's relax. I don't think we've seen enough sample size from Joonas Korpisalo to say that this was a shitty signing. Like I thought he was great in preseason. Has had a slow start. Seems to be the one thing I am a little concerned about, Bob, the high blocker. Like something's going on up there. And you as a shooter, man. Like I don't know. For me, I was just trying to hit the net, but you guys must be looking for that if you're on the other team, right?
Yeah, I always appreciate it. What Pierre Grill did was, I don't need to see a lot of clips. I would watch the shootouts before the game just to see patterns of where guys scored when they were, the moves aside, just the shots. What Pierre always did was put the goalie up in the traditional shooter tutor and say 15 goals here, 8 goals here. So you would be able to kind of pick and choose what your targets were. And as a right-handed shot, I always liked going high blocker or low glove. And when you get to see that, it puts it in perspective that's the shot. So guys know that. So guys are keying on it for sure. As a shooter, it's one of the few things you actually pick apart on a goalie, because you can never tell with traffic and tips and what's a goalie's fault. But when you can tell where the goals are going in, players are they're going to hone in on it 100%.
I want to bring in Colby, but before that, I just want to get a couple of our partner reads out of the way so that we don't have to bog them down. And by the way, if you go to Botano, which is our presenting sponsor, the odds have changed a little bit for the Stanley Cup odds, which are interesting to see as you 5 games in, you can start to see things start to shift around a little. Guys, is there one pick that you have that you would like to have a do-over right now, 5 games in?
Overall? Maybe Edmonton. But yeah, I had them winning the Pacific, and now Connor McDavid's out for a couple of weeks. So I would like that one back.
Yeah, okay.
But I didn't think Anaheim was going to be ahead of them.
The old Duckies, eh? I don't know.
So, hey, if you'd still like to make a futures bet on the Edmonton Oilers winning the Stanley Cup, go ahead. The odds have gone back up.
There you go.
As always, go to Betano.ca, download the award-winning app, and get in on all the action. Same game parlays, live bet builder. All that stuff is going on. Plus, you can get ready to bet on tomorrow's game, which is the Ottawa Senators facing the Buffalo Sabres, which should be a good one. We'll get to that later as well. And by BEI, Bonnechere Excavating Inc., helping to shape the Ottawa Valley, of course, equipment rentals, aggregate topsoil sales, all of the stuff you need to get the job done. Remember, slow down in construction zones. Give them a call, 613-432-1120, or go to BonnechereExcavating.com. All right. So now we will bring in our good friend, Colby Armstrong, who's one of the, he's just a legend. How do you play for two of the most bitter rivals of the Ottawa Senators and still be well-liked by the Ottawa Senator fans? That says you're a legend. So, Colby Armstrong, welcome to the show.
Got unmuted.
Yep. I gave you one job.
Is that good?
Yeah,
there we go.
You've taken the Bobby Ryan school.
Yeah. I'm a boomer. Yeah, what's up?
What's going on?
You know what? No, it's awesome. First of all, good to see you guys. Bobby, congrats on a good career too. Amazing, especially at the end there with what you went through coming back. The hat-trick game. I was talking to Yorkie about that. It's a pretty awesome story.
Thank you.
You said Bob ghosted you though. You never got back.
Yeah, I tried to figure out his number and got him a text message congratulating him. I've never met you or talked to you, so I was like, oh, I got to reach out to this guy. This is amazing.
No way,
and
man.
I didn't hear back, so I don't know. Maybe I got the wrong number. I got bad info, maybe.
Yeah, somebody just protected my digits, but I'll shoot you mine.
Yeah,
I do appreciate that.
I said Bob's good people. I go because you asked me. I go, if you text Bob, he's getting back to you. So it must have been a wrong number.
Yeah.
My connection to Senators is as I got older, like in the junior hockey and stuff, and I started like watching teams and liking teams. I thought Ottawa was pretty exciting, and I'm a big Wade Redden guy. He's his parents are friends with my parents for a long time back, and kind of grew up thinking he was pretty awesome. So when he was raising hell in there, and you guys had good teams in Ottawa, it was pretty fun to watch those teams go. Yorkie, you were probably there for that time, hey?
Yeah, no love for Yorkie. I was his partner for 4 years. God damn it, Colby.
I think I remember a few clips of seeing you alongside him. So, and then I get to work with him and work with Wally or alongside Wally. So it's great to be here. Thanks, guys.
The Yorkie video was off the glass and out, probably. That's what you saw.
Oh, yeah. High flipper.
Oh, just sneaking around out there, though. Pretty sneaky. You got a mustache rolling right now? Is that a duster? Oh, my God. That's horrible.
Shaved yet.
That duster's bad. That's a bad buzzy.
Salt and pepper goatee going. Yeah, I still can't get a full beard at age 53. Something's going on.
Bobby can't either. There's no chance. He's got the baby face. Bobby's got the baby face.
I grow a great neck beard.
Yeah, the throw tee. Me too.
Did you ever grow a beard for playoffs? I don't remember you growing one.
Oh, I always lost in the first round. We had a good run in the minors, though. Actually, freaking Ottawa knocked us out. Every team, when I made the playoffs, they knocked us out. But I could just grow like a teen stash and a neck beard. Just a solid neck beard is brutal. Still to this day, it's not that great.
I got lots of questions to ask you, including I'm going to put you on the spot at some point and ask you what question you would ask the boys if you had them on the couch like you do in your segment for Sportsnet. But in the game on Saturday, I don't know if you saw this or not, Colby, there was the exchange between DeBrincat and Tkachuk in a scrum.
Yeah.
After the game, DeBrincat said he wouldn't comment on what was said. So I'm just curious, guys, as former players, was there much said about him not being here, or is it just because it's on the ice, we just don't say whatever it is to begin with? Colby?
I would say that he probably chirped him about not coming back there and deciding to go to Detroit. And I would guess it would be that. That would be what I would have said to him. Yeah, I think they're, a team that believes that they're on the rise. They've got good young players. And, I think you could feel slighted if you lose a guy that's a potential, what does he have now? 8 goals this year? It's crazy. A guy that can fill the net like that. And, I'd be kind of, in a little ways, I'd be happy he got, a contract and he's playing where he's from. I get it, but I would still chirp him about that.
Are you buying what Detroit's selling so far? Like, are they that good, or is it just a case of soft early season hockey?
I kind of feel like the season has no rhythm yet, and it'll be interesting to see once it straightens out. Like, some teams have played 4 games already. Yeah. We're a few weeks in. It's just too much time in between to really understand kind of what your team is. I got to give it to them though. They look pretty together in their play, which is, I think, hard to find, like, identity wise. They play hard too. They've been playing pretty hard. They've got good tandem. I think that's pretty reliable as well in net. And their power play is crazy. It looks so dangerous every time they're out there. So, yeah, I think some teams are having a hard time right now. And I think some of the better teams at finding, I think every year you have to find your identity, and there's just not enough hockey and not enough rhythm to the season right now to make like a full assessment. So yes, Yorkie, maybe a little bit of soft early hockey is the answer.
See, I gotta go the other way on the wedding gift real quick, because that's what I think it was about. I absolutely think that Chucky was like, you made 9 bananas last year and you got me a fucking silverware set.
You think he went place setting?
Place setting for sure.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. No, I don't know. That's what I guess.
Those napkin rings.
Yeah. Just the last thing that you could possibly click on the Amazon wish list, and he clicked it.
What's left? Okay, here it is.
And Colby, I can't remember all the times you played on Pittsburgh, but you certainly played on some great teams. I don't know if you struggled off the start, like in Edmonton. What do you think is happening in Edmonton right now?
I think there's just a little bit of pressure. I think no Ekholm to start the season kind of rocked it. And then once you get off to, I think it's important to get a good start, right? Like, Yorkie and Bobby, you guys know like how good it feels to get an apple in the first game, get a W, things start to roll a little bit. You get comfy, everything feels a little better. And it's just been a little bit challenging for them to get going. And I mean, it's pretty early for guys to start chirping in the media about like not getting enough ice time. That's why I got in a tilt that period. And like, I mean,
entertained.
Yeah. So
awesome.
I think with the pressure, I think with the expectations, I think everyone kind of has them as a team that they looked at going into this year as being a Stanley Cup contender for sure, no question. After almost getting through, Vegas last year in the playoffs. So I think it's just I think they have to settle into those expectations, and it's a little bit different for them as a group, where it's kind of been a cloud of disappointment for the most part. And it's a different narrative. They've kind of slowly gotten better every year, and finally they're getting some good chatter, and it just hasn't shown up here early.
Yeah, well, you played in the Canadian market, and you know how hard it is on tendies. Like, that's all people are talking about.
Right my God, I know.
Goaltending, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, they signed Campbell out of Toronto, and he's kind of been a project majority, hasn't he? Like, he hasn't been a guy. He's had high expectations as a high pick and a guy that could, possibly be that guy, but he hasn't been able to consistently like carry it, and gets that nice contract. Skinner steals his job, and then, Skinner's this new guy on the block. So I think it's just balancing expectations. Ultimately, I feel like Skinner's probably the guy. I think he's going to be. And it's just, becoming comfortable. Like, we have Tristan Jarry in Pittsburgh, and he's a really good goalie, 2-time All-Star, and throws good runs together. But, at the NHL level, when getting used to, accepting all that pressure and expecting to be, the horse that carries, majority of the games, to be a difference maker, I think that takes a little bit of time of getting used to. And you got one guy that hasn't been able to kind of get it going fully, and another guy that's, fairly new to it, fairly new to being that guy.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to quickly ask you about the Sens, and that is, are they a playoff team for you?
Yeah. I think they're going to finish. I picked them to finish second in the division. I think they're I think they've got a great mix of speed, skill, tenacity, but like some nastiness too with guys they have in their lineup. Like it's a great mix. The goaltending, can it hold up? But that's a question. But other than that, I just think I think they're poised to be like super dangerous this year with everybody. I think they even playing some, you know, bigger body teams. It'd be interesting to see, like, you know, the Vegases, some of those out west teams, and Colorado, the speed that they have and how good they are. But I think there's enough compete even with their skill guys. Like, they're not shy to get in there. Like, when you have stars on your team that are skilled stars and looked at being certain type of players, but when they, you know, get into hard areas like these guys do, it's a difference maker. So, you know, obviously Norris was a big guy to get back in the lineup. What a guy. I love that guy. And you know, he's, you know, big time goal scorer for them too, to add another weapon into the mix. But I just look at their lineup, and I thought this year I thought last year, I'm not going to lie, I picked them like to be a surprise team last year and make the playoffs. Whoops. But this year, like, there's no question that they're on to something for sure.
Would you, did you have Toronto win in the division?
Yeah.
And then who did you have third in the division? That was a big kind of a spot for us on the show here, where we had some differences of opinion.
The funny thing is I think I had Buffalo there, which I know it's early, but I'm like not liking what I see right now. Believe it or not, I'm crazy, man. I went like Boston, no playoffs. I went Florida, no playoffs.
Yeah. Tampa, wild card.
Tampa right there. Yep. Teams I picked, and then you get the news Vasi's out, and then Boston's off to a hot start. And I'm like, what did I have an idiot?
No, you're just, that's, people are waiting for, there's got to be a change at some point, right? Yeah. Someone's going to have to falter.
You're ahead of the curve.
Colby, I was chatting with you before. We were chatting earlier today. Everyone here is obviously big Erik Karlsson here in Ottawa, won a couple Norrises here. How has he been so far for Pittsburgh? Because I know you do color for the Penguins now. You're on the chart. You're there. You're an insider.
Back in the show, boys. I'm back in the show. It's great. You know, back on the plane. Yeah, the Never Hungry League. It's official. I'm back in there. So it's been good. We just had our first road trip the other day. Got on the charter and buzzed out to St. Louis, and they lost. But as far as Karlsson, like, he's been awesome. And, you know, the power play hasn't yet. But I think, you know, you get a guy like him in there who's like completely all over the place with his creativity. I think it takes a little bit of getting used to, and forever too. Like, I think the Penguins kind of had guys in their spots. You know, Gino's the flank shooter, Sid's down around the net, little chop tips, little bump passes and everything, and Gensel and I think Rust on the other side. So, you know, I think you have to, you know, rotate and move a lot more. And for them to kind of get in sync with what Karlsson's doing as, you know, the QB, I think will take a little bit of time, but I love it. Like, every time he gets a puck, I never know what he's going to do. And it's just like the creativity with him, and like the awareness of everybody on the ice. And then also a little bit of like, I don't know how it feels in his head or his body, but like the risky business that he operates in with some of the plays and poise he has in tough areas or under pressure has been amazing to watch. So it's been good. And then in Detroit a few nights ago, on Wednesday night last week, I thought, you know, he had 3 points, a goal and 2 assists. He could have had easily 5 points. It was like his Mona Lisa so far as a Penguin. And his compete level when the game got a little tight late and he started ramping up in a loss, trying to tie the game. It was just crazy how he took the game over. So
yeah.
I expect more of that from him. And you know, Kyle Dubas made a comment about, like, in acquiring him, what Jason Spez's input was on him and making him go back and look at him in the playoffs. Look at him when they had some runs in the playoffs, and check out his compete level when the chips were high, and how he battled, and knock on him defensively, right? And see him, you know, in those situations defensively and how he played. And you know, they could see that. So I'm excited to see like what it could be once it starts ticking, because there's no question, like, he's one of the more creative high-end players I've seen. Like, it's crazy. And they've even like revamped. They don't even do, like, they do it every once in a while, but like the bump back pass on the power play, it's just like, no, EK65 just gets it. He takes 2 pop strides and he's gone. It's crazy. It's crazy, his skating. He can get out of trouble so easy. Like, you got an angle on him. No, 1 stride. See ya.
I watched him.
He's a freak.
Go ahead, Bob.
No, sorry. I was on the power play with him for quite a bit of time, obviously, and they were like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not skating with that guy, so send me to the far blue line. I'll be the post up. I'll just post up. I'm not catching him in any direction."
No, yeah, I know. I know. And I remember when he came in the league, I remember forechecking him, and like, he was young, no one really knew about him, but he was kind of timid to get hit. He was really small, and the game was different when he first came into. There's still some like big guys, and he would set up behind the net or something, or if you didn't get a full piece of him, he's gone. Like, his 2 strides, he's gone. It's crazy how much pop he has in his legs with those strides. And he's a separator, but then his brain is crazy. He just does awesome stuff. He does amazing stuff when he's got the puck. Like, you don't even expect it. Like, even in the press box, best seat in the house. And I'm still like, whoa, how do you see that? How do you do that? So he's going to be exciting to watch for sure this year with the mix of some of the players they have.
Like, you're pretty busy right now, eh? You've got Colby on. You've got
Colby. I'm a loser, boys.
You're doing Pittsburgh.
Did you not make enough money?
Like,
no, I know.
Right?
I just never say no. I'm an idiot.
You got kids in hockey. You got, like, where are you? Are you you got to take care of yourself.
I know. I know, and I was going to start working out this year, boys. I haven't really worked out since I retired. I'm getting fat. I'm fattening up. You know,
well, if you're gonna be on the bird now, I've seen guys eat their way out of the league, but you got to go right past the charcuterie.
Out of my suits, right out of the suits. The neck is getting huge, boys. The neck is blowing up the buttons on the suits.
You're just shaping up for the podcast game.
Yeah.
That's the shape of the podcast, people.
By the way, big time.
By the way, congrats on the podcast. It's fantastic.
Love game notes.
So one of the things we have a new. Okay, this is good. It's got to do with you. So bear with me for a sec. We have a new sponsor in the show. It's Wendy's. They're coming up with a brand new.
What did you just say Wendy's and you said it's
be here?
Hang on.
Or a za or something or what?
Hang on. Just bear with me. I made a new graphic and everything for this. So Wendy's, they have a daily. You go to dailyfaceoff.com. There's going to be a brand new Survivor pool. It's going to start soon. Stay tuned for that. The reason I bring that up is because now we have a thing called the Wendy's Golden Nugget. It's a golden nugget of information. And today, Colby, look fancy. We spent a lot of money. Today, we came up with a golden nugget for you. And you already know this, but our viewers don't, maybe. You scored 1 goal at the World Championships in 2007. Ended up being the gold medal winning goal. As Canada beat Finland 4-2. So I just thought I'd bring that up. You scored the gold medal winning goal. I'm just curious to what that feels like.
I have to remind people that I did that as I brag about myself with that one. I scored to make it 3-1. It was my only goal of the tournament. And it was in Russia, in Moscow. And Rick Nash had an unbelievable tournament. He was like crazy. And he scored the 4th goal to make it 4-2 with a minute left in the game. And I always say Rick Nash stole my thunder. He screwed me out of like national heroism stuff here. If anyone watches the World Championships, I don't know. But he scored with like 2 guys on his back doing the splits, like got the goalie over here, then one-hander back, like falling down, tucked it in. It was this amazing goal. And it's like at the time, it was like the goal that they kept showing and like the highlight, and it was amazing. Meanwhile, I'd already put the game away with the game winner, right? 3-2. And he stole my thunder. So, it was amazing. I got to do that twice. So, represent your country is pretty cool and go to those things. And I got to meet lots of really cool guys, too. We had a great groups of guys. And I went a few years later to Switzerland and played with Marty St. Louis, who's coaching Montreal now. And
that team was
a great experience.
Yeah.
That team that had Spezza, Heatley, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Dion
the
Phaneuf.
Swiss team.
Luke Shen, yes. You get into the final. Is Hitch Lindy Ruff is the coach, if I'm not mistaken.
Ruffles.
That's the one where you called me Wally over the boards, and then you skated back around. Did you like that?
Nickname guy. Big nickname guy.
But that team was I think Shane Doan, I think, was on that team. Shea Weber was.
good team. Probably a better team than the year we won gold. We lost in the gold medal game to Russia that year, which was brutal. We couldn't score on Brizgalov. It was crazy. But our team that year was way better. And the team in Russia the year before was more like, we had good players, don't get me wrong, but we were more grindery, like a grinder style team a little bit. And we never lost a game in the whole tournament. So it was kind of funny how it worked out. But it was an awesome experience, Wally. Yeah, covering those, isn't it great? It's awesome.
It's the best tournament.
So a blast.
So coming back to playing with Sid, I'm just curious, does he give you any more scoops now that you're a broadcaster? Like, hey, Sid, like, what's the lineup today? And he's like, I don't know who you are.
No, he sucks. He doesn't give me any scoops. He gives me nothing. Just like when I played with him, I'd ask him to pump my tires when I was feeling down. And he was like, you're doing okay, buddy. Like, keep going. Like, brutal on the tire pumps for me also. Like, trying to dig myself out of a mental hole, you know? And, but yeah, that's probably one of the coolest things for me in retirement right now is getting to work in Pittsburgh and work for the Pens and getting to like watch him every single night. It's been amazing. Some of his milestones, and then, you know, Stanley Cup back-to-backs when they won there, I was kicking around for those too. So anytime you get to watch a player like that, and it's like right now, it's been awesome to follow him, and obviously, and now just be around him and watch him. It's awesome.
I was down in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, and I met one of Sid's junior buddies. He's on the Tim Hortons commercial with him. He's this fighter guy. I think he's still playing. Yeah. Great guy. And he told me the best Sid story. And I just, because you don't really know Sid, you think he's this quiet guy. And he told me every summer he takes his boys on a trip. And they just got to show up at the airport. They don't know where they're going. They just tell their wives and their girlfriends, we're going with Sid. And I just love that Sid never forgot the guys he grew up with. And I'm like, what a great guy. Takes his boys away. He goes off the grid for a week, has some fun. And I was like, wow, I love this, man. I just a whole newfound of respect for Sid hearing that story.
Yeah. He's still tight with like a handful of guys he played junior with in Rimouski, and those are kind of the guys in his group. And another guy, Mike Chason, who's the E-Bug goalie in Pittsburgh now, and he works for, you know, the youth hockey program that we have that my son plays at. He's a goalie instructor there. So yeah, he takes care of his buddies pretty good. He's a great guy.
Love it.
What year is your kid playing junior Pens?
He is 2010 born, so he's 13 years old, first year hitting. So we just started this year. He just broke his collarbone in Boston last weekend. So he's trying to heal up. Yeah, just little baby bird collarbones, you know, just snapped, and he got crushed trying on a breakout. You know, my dad, the best advice my dad always said, you got to have your head on a swivel. He used to tell me, head on a swivel tonight, eh? And I was like, oh yeah, okay. And it's important when you're coming out as a winger that you make sure who's coming down on you or who's coming off the side. So he got walloped pretty good, but he started the year pretty good. It's been fun, and hockey's grown like crazy in Pittsburgh. And you know, I think a lot has to do with Mario, obviously, but Sid has like a learn to play program that he started. It's been awesome. The practice rink has been huge, and tons of kids play now. So it's been really good for hockey.
My kid just played the 07, then they just got pumped like 7-2 or something by the junior Pens. So thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Oh, did they pump you guys?
Yeah, but that team's really good. They've got Todd White's kid plays on that team.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, we got a lot of Ottawa kids that come down here. We get the Ottawa kids. We've had a few Halifax kids I know, and they bill it in Pittsburgh and stuff for some of those older teams. So yeah, they do pretty good with some of their teams. Isn't Whitey's kids pretty good?
Yeah, drafted by the 67s and the USHL as well.
Yeah.
I think he just committed to
played with Whitey in Atlanta.
Yes.
Oh, did you?
Right. Yes, that's right. Do you have any Todd White stories? He's pretty quiet. Well, he's quiet in public.
Yeah, he'll chat to you. He'll chat. Oh, yeah. He's always got his glasses, and he's fixing his glasses all the time. Yeah, he was great. I remember I had 2 goals in one shift against Ottawa, another Ottawa connection. And it was like a minute and a half left in the game. And of course, Whitey's out there. He's like the empty net master. And it was a D-zone face-off. And I was like, oh, come on. If I'm going to get a hat trick ever in my life, like this will be it. This is the night, you know? And I didn't get out there. Whitey gets the puck, launches it 200 feet. He was like on the goal line, like launches it down the ice and buries it, and that was it. They threw the tendy back in, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, Whitey nails it. Of course, Whitey nails it.
Hey,
guy, good player.
All I remember with Whitey, I played them, I think, for a year and a bit. Remember when they used to hand out, Army, the stat sheets after the game? You get the thing. Whitey would be all over his face-off percentage, just going over it like a fine-tooth comb. And then, oh man, it's like, Whitey, it's over. Like I was 9-6 on face-offs, not 9-8. That's wrong.
Amazing.
He remembers, hey? He remembers.
Oh, he remembers.
Monster.
You had two goal games against Ottawa in your career. 8 goals, 18 points in 28 games against the Mighty Sens.
Wow.
Do you want me to tell you both games?
Yeah.
March 18th, 2010 was against against Ottawa in Atlanta, 6-3 victory. And in December 16th, 2008, a 4-1 victory over Ottawa.
I don't remember that one. That's too long ago.
Danny
Wally
Heatley got a 10-minute misconduct. Wow.
I was probably in his kitchen. I was probably getting him fired up.
Hey, I got 2 more than you tonight, Alfie.
I remember playing against Alfie early when they stormed to the Cup final that year, and like he would get the puck and he would keep the puck. Sens had a good team, and they knocked us out in the first round when we were just in Pittsburgh starting to get good, and they went to the final and ended up losing. But I remember Alfie would get the puck, and it was in the regular season, and guys changed, and he stayed on obviously and had the puck in our zone and was going 1-on-5 by himself, unbelievable, keeping the puck, separating from guys, spin off a guy. He was baiting guys everywhere. It's just crazy what he did. It's we could get the puck from him. He was just it was nuts. And then you add in all the other stars that they had there at the time. It was pretty tough team.
Was that the learning curve year? You guys got swept that year, right? And everybody was like, "Oh,
I think we won one. We won one game.
Sorry, you swept Ottawa the next year, I think.
Oh, the next year was it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got
traded for Hossa.
Yeah, I got traded at the deadline that year, but yeah, that was after we lost to Ottawa that year, the Pens and all of us younger guys and stuff, we were like, "Oh man, we're going to be good next year." You could just feel it. You knew it. The belief was there, and then at the time, Sid was 20 years old. So it was he was just ready to roll. And yeah, we just had good young guys and mixed with good old guys. It was really, really good mix. So, but we learned a lot. Ottawa, yeah, they were physical, tough, deep, fast. They could score. Chris Neal's my most hated player. Oh my God. I couldn't, he flies, he crushes you, he could beat you up. What can you do? I just tried to antagonize him a bit. And then when he'd always try to fight me, and I'm like, "Oh, you kill me, buddy." He's a maniac. I would just push him to the limit and then back away.
Dude, you're looking for a good change, right? When he hits, when he goes red, you're looking for a dump and change.
Oh, get off. Yeah. Army,
dealing with that shit in practice every day. It was no different.
Imagine. I couldn't imagine. Yeah, he's a rock too. He blew my shoulder out in the minors, Neil, too, and they were in bingo. They had a good team in bingo that lockout year and everything too. So they had a lot of really good players. And Neil was running around. That rink in Binghamton is so small too. It was just crazy. Bolchankov. Holy God.
That's the Army.
You had Terry and Michelle Terrian when you were in Pittsburgh, eh?
Yeah, and in Wilkes-Barre, yeah, a lot of years.
Oh, so you got a heavy dose of Michelle Terrian. How was that?
Oh yeah, it was hard, but it was good. I was good with hard coaching. I was fine with it. He was hard on all of us, but he's hard on me, and I had him for a long time, and I'd always respond, So, I wanted to please him, but at times when it wasn't going as good, it can be when you have a harder coach, it's not easy. So, but I liked it. I learned to like him, it was, and then he came and he signed me later in Montreal. When Bergevin and him took over in Montreal, and
I remember that.
I left Toronto and went to Montreal, and I knew him. So I knew it was a good spot for me. He knew me. He knew my personality. He knew what I could do, knew how I played, knew how I was in the dressing room and stuff. So it was a comfortable relationship after time for sure.
Has he ever heard your impersonation of him?
Yeah, he busted me doing it a few times.
Did he?
Oh,
How did he get you?
I was
At first, can you give us the impersonation?
You got to tell the story. The story is so good.
Yeah, this one I was like in the buffet line at lunch, and all the guys were in there sitting down, and I didn't know he was in there, and I was just being an idiot. I was like, "Look at these potatoes, huh? They're pretty fair." And then I'd slap like some potatoes on my plate. Then I go to the next one, and I just kept doing it till I got to the end, and I turned to the side, and he was standing in line right next to me, and I thought I was just being a beauty. I literally I didn't even get like anything like spaghetti or anything yet. I was like, oh my God, I just ran over to my seat and sat down at like a table by myself. And I was like looking around. I was like, holy jeez. The boys were loving it.
That's amazing.
Did he appreciate it?
Fucking great.
Yeah, he didn't say anything. So I don't know if he knew what I was doing or if he just let it slide. Maybe he just knew I was being an idiot. I miss those. I miss those times. That's
right.
That's the stuff.
That's the good stuff. Yeah, that's the stuff I miss the most. I think about not playing, like being on the ice, and sometimes you watch like a competitive game or if in the building and it's like a big game and it looks like it'd be really exciting to be out there. I'm like, oh shit, I wish I was still playing. But most of the stuff that I miss is like just going to the rink every day, hanging out with the boys, like stuff like that, hanging out, just goofy stuff on the planes and hotels and everything.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So were you in Pittsburgh when he first took over and he made that famous speech on his first day of, I think it's our job to be the worst. We're trying to be the worst defensive team in the league. I was like, oh boy.
Oh man, you guys should have seen and read some of the articles in Wilkes-Barre. They were way better, but that one was in the NHL, so it got some traction. But yeah, that was he called us. I got called up a little bit later after he had taken over, and then called me up, and gave me an opportunity to finally play, because I played 3.5 years in the minors without getting called up. So it was like kind of my first, chance of freedom and an opportunity to get out of the minors. But yeah, that was like legendary. That was legendary. I think we were playing against Atlanta and they ran up the score on us and it was bad. And then after the game, he let us have it. The softest defensive core in the league. That's their goal. Guys don't care. Oh yeah. What do you say? Maybe Max Talbot, but what's he? 5'7"?
It was so. I was like, "How's he gonna last?"
I would have had to laugh right through that. There's no way I would have made it through. I was always the guy in the corner when and I always tipped extra for trainers to give me the good spot that would be in the corner. And as soon as coaches would start, I'd have to just put the head down between, because I can't handle it. When they go after somebody, I'm immediately breaking down laughing.
I know everyone thinks after a tough loss, sometimes, when you don't have it or the team just, it's a bad night. And obviously you're upset you lost and stuff, but you ever get in the shower with the boys after and you look at each other, you're like, everyone's you're kind of like,
that's it.
That was awful.
We got lit up one time. Oh, I just got in the shower and we're doing exactly that. And I was like, fuck, we started taking on water real early and it never stopped. It's so good.
It's so good. All right. So
there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. Colby, you have this segment now that's on Sportsnet where you are on the smallest couch in the history of couches.
It's real leather. Too.
It looks very expensive.
Yeah.
What if you were to have Yorkie and Bobby on the couch? What questions would you ask them?
Whoa, getting deep, Wally.
I don't think
Bobby
it's that deep.
I would ask him about his stick. I feel like Bobby used a long stick, and I noticed his blade looks really big, kind of too. I would ask him about that. Some of the guys that I sat with has been pretty cool. We're going to talk about Tage Thompson tonight on Sportsnet, as it's the only game going tonight, Montreal against Buffalo. But I would probably try to get you to show me your stick and stuff. Obviously a good shooter. But I thought it looked, just looking at you, your stick looks so long and your blade looked big.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah, accurate. And I had what Team Mussolini told me once, and I'll never forget it, was that if you can play in the league with the stick that Bobby Ryan uses, you're the best player in the world. Because he tried it. He took 2 shots with it and gave it back to him. I was like, I don't know how you do it. I mean, it's a banana peel, what I use. And, it was long because something had to make it. The flippers didn't quite work well, so something had to make up for it. I could read a play and, big wingspan, but I couldn't get there with the feet.
I'd I'd ask Yorkie about what it was like playing with Wade Redden.
Actually, you know what? And Army would have to apologize to me because back in 2020, we did a show at Sports. It was New Year's Eve, and we were both in Sportsnet for New Year's Eve 2019-20. And we just went out and got shit canned at a bunch of old fashions.
Yeah.
And we're I still have the video. I can't show anybody the video because we're acting like idiots. We're walking down the street. It was the greatest jinx of all time. Colby Armstrong declaring that 2020 was going to be the greatest year ever. And we told everybody in downtown Toronto that we walked by, 2020, it's going to be awesome.
Happy New Year. It's going to be the best 2020. Let's go. I was just, the streets are packed. Everyone's enjoying themselves. Everyone's like us, just a couple too many. And we're heading back to the hotel. Yorkie videotapes this thing. Like, how long later was COVID and like the worst year ever? It was like the
2 months later.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to Yorkie. I'm like, remember that 2020 best year ever video? Oh my God, dude. What a jinx. What a jinx. Epic jinx. That was a good night, but yeah, it didn't turn out how I thought.
Before we let you go, I don't know if you've seen Brady and Matthew Tkachuk have their new Hyundai car commercial with their mom, Chantal.
Yeah.
That makes me think that's not the best car commercial ever done by a player in the National Hockey League.
I think it's pretty good.
I think if we go back to the Pittsburgh days of you and Max Talbot would be the best car commercial ever made.
Well, it still lives every once in a while. It rears its head on social media. Someone will plug it up there off of YouTube. Of course, YouTube, never goes away. So that was like when YouTube just started. Because I remember the car guy that did it. He wanted to film this commercial. It ended up going on TV too, but he put it on YouTube and it just like took off. And it's horrible acting. We're terrible. My jeans couldn't be baggier. It's just like the worst time. And me, Talbot, Gonchar, and Malkin. Malkin doesn't say a word. He catches a set of keys. He just stands there. And I remember the night before. Like it kind of came out, but it was like you had no clue how anything worked. So I think it was like on YouTube, and somehow Jay Leno like got it on his show. And we had a game the next day, and I was sleeping. And I remember my wife came running upstairs, and she's like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "What?" I woke up, it's like later at night. I was just settling in. I just got up like, "What?" She's like, "Oh my God, your car commercial was just on Jay Leno as like the worst car commercial ever." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." I felt like I got like immediately I got hives because you guys know when you go to the rink the next day, like you're getting abused. Yeah. It's like getting a haircut. You come to the rink with a haircut, the boys just give it to your haircut. You're just so self-conscious. I just knew I was going to get abused. I had hives all over my chest. My heart was beating so fast. I was like, this is the worst thing ever. And I showed up to the rink. Of course, the boys gave it to us pretty good and gave it to me. So it was, that was something else. And it just comes up every once in a while. It's so really one of the few ads I've ever done in my playing days. And local car commercial. Are those ever good?
No, they're not supposed to be.
We got to show it, Wally. Do we got it?
No, I was too lazy. I didn't get it.
What a beauty.
I pulled an Alex DeBrincat. I was just lazy.
Wally.
Is that too soon?
Roughness.
Anyway, Colby, we appreciate your time. I know you're going to get settled and get ready to do your 47th job that you have at Sportsnet.
And Bobby, are you still living next to Naomi and Greg in Nashville? Beautiful place down there.
Yes, I direct next door neighbors.
Great friends of mine. You have to say hi to them. And Nashville's amazing. Getsy's in there now, right? He's living there. So you probably have a pretty good crew. Neighbors are awesome. Those people are great people. So Yorkie, thanks for having me on. Wally, appreciate it.
As always. Good to see you, Army. Take care, Army.
So good.
Very good. There goes Colby Armstrong. You could talk to him for hours because he's got so many stories. So we'll get him back.
I did Bobby and I did studio with Colby for about a year. I never laughed so hard. We'd go out and after and just a great dude. Yeah. So and he's gotten so good on TV, man. Like he's that little segment. Have you seen it, Bobby? Colby on the couch?
I've seen like the clips of it. I've actually never watched one of them, and I will. But I feel like he's really grown. But now I know he's got 47 jobs. But I've seen him way more the last couple of years. So yeah,
he's everywhere.
Yeah, he's got to learn to say no.
He didn't make as much as you, apparently.
Fair enough.
All right, we got to get to our DoorDash hot and cold performers. So let's get right to it, shall we? For a limited time, by the way, if you go to DoorDash and download the app, choose what you want from where you want, and your items will be left safely outside your door with our default contactless delivery setting. For a limited time, our listeners get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter Nation25, all uppercase letters. That's Nation25 up to a $10 value and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the app at DoorDash. Enter Nation25. Don't forget, Nation25, 25% off your first order with DoorDash. Unfortunately, Bobby, offer valid in Canada and terms apply. All right. So here now, it's time for the DoorDash hot and cold performers. And I feel like we should start with, let's go with Yorkie.
Oh, okay. So we're starting hot here. And this wasn't easy for me. Actually, I could have went. Easy answer if you're going to say who's hot for the Ottawa Senators. Jake Sanderson's, he's been their all-around best player since day one. He's telling you right now, I keep saying it, this guy's going to be getting Norris Trophy votes. He's been that good, but it's boring to keep picking the same guy. So I went with Ridley Gregg. I thought he was, mentioned earlier in the show, I thought he was one of the bright spots in the loss to Detroit. The goal aside, this guy just competes every single time he's on the ice. He's a little bastard to play against. He had the great hit on DeBrincat, 60% on draws, 5 shots on goal. But the thing I like about him the most, Bob, he extends plays in the offensive zone.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to hold on to the puck. And that's what the good players do. You hold it a little extra, something will open up. And that's what I'm noticing big time in his game this year. He's holding on to the puck, way more confident. Looks like he worked on his mitts a little bit this summer because he's had a couple nice little in and out moves inside the offensive zone. But he's making the most of his opportunity, because if Pinto was here, there'd be a little more battle for that second line center position. But he's grabbed it, he's running with it, and he's making the most of his opportunity. And I just love how he's playing. And I think this kid's off to a great start in his career.
Yeah, I agree with you. By the way, that +5 leads the Ottawa Senators.
And
I
didn't even know that. Yeah,
I know you guys hate the +- stat.
It's a terrible stat. Terrible stat.
It does show that he might be defensively responsible. Is all I was trying to get at.
He just competes. He just competes, Wally. Like, he makes you earn your ice if you're playing against him. For a young guy, he's still going to make mistakes, but there's a lot to like.
I like the confidence. Like, he's not afraid to throw a little sauce across ice,
right?
And like I saw a couple plays and I was like, boy, if I did that back in 2007, and even if I made the pass,
what Carlisle say to you? What Carlisle say to you?
But
get to the bench.
I love the way he plays. I agree with Yorkie. It's a great pick. Great pick.
All right. I'm going to come back. I got a question I want to ask, but I'm coming back to that in a sec. All right. Let's go to Bobby's hot or cold performer of the day.
So I went cold, and I think we should agree that this is not a criticism this time around. There will be cold streaks that we're going to have to be open about, players not playing great hockey. Kubalik just can't buy a point. So Dominic Kubalik is my cold player of the day, and I don't think he's played poorly. I just would love to see him bury one. I think his confidence would go through the roof if he did, but I think he's played well. I think he's gotten in on the forecheck. I think he's created some space for his line mates. I think he's probably got a couple third assists, which Yorkie's, that's where Yorkie made his money, but fans would absolutely love to see it. So I'm not being hard on him here. He's just running cold, and Clark MacArthur would say he's colder than a lake trout, and it will turn. It will turn for him. Not playing poorly. I want to stress that.
Yeah.
Is he doing enough away from the puck?
See, I think he was, I'm thinking just directly on the Josh Norris goal, the separation there. I'd like to see him I think I'd like to see him push guys back a little bit more on entries. I think he tends to get over and float from time to time, and that's what shooters do. And I think he's going to have to realize that there's going to have to be a little bit more of that in his game going forward.
Fair enough. So here's my question, guys. If it's part of the pick one category, if I had three guys, I would have, again, I was lazy. If you could only pick Shane Pinto or Ridley Gregg in your lineup, money aside, who who is your second line center?
You're trying to make us go viral on a Monday. Man, Yorkie, you got to go first.
That's a really tough question, but I can only go with sample size, and I've had more sample size with Pinto. He's shown me over a longer period of time that he's an NHL player, that he's ready for it. Yeah. I love the fact that he's a right shot center. You already got Stützle, who's your left shot center. So I'm bringing him. That's one of the biggest reasons. I think he's really. I think they're different players. I think he's more of a cerebral player than Ridley Gregg. I think Ridley's more of a reactionary player. He's going to be more of a quote unquote shit disturber, which is great. I want both of them in my lineup.
Yeah.
I deciding. So more sample size. He's got, like, come on. Pinto scored 20 goals last year.
That's the whole argument.
You can't say right now that you're going to take and here's the thing, and as much as I've just pumped the tires of Ridley Gregg, because we only have so far this season, a little bit last year, you have to see how a player plays over time. That's why it's laughable when everyone's deciding what's going to go on with the Senators after whatever they've played 5 games, 6 games. It's too small of a sample size. But for me, Pinto was very consistent last season. And I think Pinto is going to be an excellent two-way player in this league for a long time. I think Ridley Gregg's going to be a really good player too, but scouts just don't go watch a guy for 5. Oh, all right, mine's made up. This guy's a player. It takes time. And that's to me, my long-winded answer, what's wrong with the league now. Guys get rewarded too quickly. And I love guys getting paid. I love guys getting money, but too many teams now have to take these gambles on players and pour all kinds of money in early when you don't really know what the player is going to be. But I think I know what Ridley Gregg is. I've watched him, but I've watched Pinto longer, so I'll take Pinto.
I have to take you. 20 goal scorers don't grow on trees, but and right-handed centers don't grow on trees. So I'm taking Pinto. And I'd like to revisit that in a year from now.
The debate's interesting only because Ridley Gregg, I think, played 25 games. He's got 3 goals, 13 points, if I'm not mistaken. So, right, not a big offensive production side, if you will, but not bad. That's about half a point a game. Is he brings just a different element of that physical game. So that's why Shane Pinto, extremely, I think, offensively talented. So that's why, to me, it's just an interesting debate because they're different players.
Yeah.
Very different.
And you got to see too, like, if you're playing the style that Ridley plays, you got to make sure your body can hold up. I'm not saying it's not going to, but that's really tough hockey to play in game in and game out. It takes a toll. Like, you're giving hits like you saw against DeBrincat, didn't it? But you're taking them too.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's put some good muscle and some good size. And he's still a young guy. It's like, let's just let the kid breathe here for a while and watch. I'm enjoying what he's doing. I'm enjoying what he's doing right now.
Me too.
Like I said, he's playing great. Keep it up. That's what they say, that it's tough to make the NHL. It's even tougher to stay there and be consistent.
I agree. And by the way, Yorkie, we call them shift disturbers. Okay.
I like that.
So before I got one last, I want to go back to Jonas Korpisalo for a sec. But before we do that, I just want to let you know, if you haven't already gone to Wendy's and tried the bacon cheeseburger, it's a barbecued bacon cheeseburger, I should say. It is very good. Or you could just DoorDash it and have it sent to you. But Wendy's has a new menu coming out, or new items on the menu. That includes the barbecue bacon cheeseburger. Don't forget, coming up soon will be the Wendy's Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool. So now back to that. Jonas Korpisalo, I know you brought it up earlier. It's a small sample size, but his save percentage, and I know there's a couple goals that had nothing to do with him, but his save percentage is terrible. Yorkie.
Oh, am I going first again here?
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a defensive side of the game, it starts with you. That's how it works here on the show.
This would be, and like I said, it's very small sample size. It's way too early to say that this guy's been a terrible signing. I will say this about goalies, though. Playing in a Canadian market is tough. Some guys can handle it. Some goalies can't. It's just, you see it with goalies. It's just a totally different thing. It's every single day. You're talking to a guy like Wally or Mendez is in there, whoever, maybe, and it's just question. So you always got to kind of justify your performance. But he looks like, and I don't know Korpisalo, I'm just going off what I've heard him. He looks like a guy that pretty well takes things in stride and can handle playing in a market. Because look at the markets he's played in so far. Columbus, LA. This is a totally different animal you're playing in Ottawa. And I'll just bring back when Gerber was here, Wally and some of these other guys, some guys can't handle the heat. Look at Frederick Anderson in Toronto. Like, it eats guys up. So we'll see. Yep. It's way too early, but hey, stats aren't great, but let's give it 10, 20 games and then we'll have a conversation.
That's the only thing I'll add there is there is an adjustment period and you can look good in preseason. How many guys do we think are going to score 15 goals a year in preseason? Then you get to the game and you're like, Daniel Winnick was never scoring 15 goals. No offense. Winnie's a great player in his own respective way. But I just remember every year they're like, he's going to have a breakout year. And I'm like, no, he isn't. But
that's the thing, right?
I don't. Yeah. Don't.
Like preseason, the guys who score all the goals played all the games.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I'm going to give, and I like what you said there. He does look like a guy that just kind of takes it in stride, and I think he'll be fine. I think that I would love to talk about it after 10 games, let him bump it up the numbers, because I think he'll settle into something. Me too. He's okay.
I think it's Forsberg tomorrow night as Ottawa hosts Buffalo, and it is Craig Anderson who's going to have his retirement, if you will. He's going to sign his one-day contract. We'll talk about that game tomorrow. Plus, we got some other news and notes to discuss. And once again, the DoorDash Hot and Cold Performer will be back. I don't know who you guys are picking for that yet. But I want to thank Colby Armstrong. Oh, and before we go, finally, if you haven't heard, Rick Bowness, who was one-time coach of the Ottawa Senators, and his son is now the assistant GM of the Ottawa Senators, Ryan. Rick's wife suffered a seizure, and so he stepped away from the team right now to be with her. So we just wanted to say our condolences, our sympathies and everything, and our thoughts are with the Bowness family through a difficult time. It's always tough when it's public like that.
Yeah, awful.
Yep, get healthy.
So we will. Right? Yes, absolutely. So we will be back tomorrow when we kick it off again at 3 p.m. Just get you set for the Buffalo game and to see now which team is better in the rebuild. It'll be decided in one game tomorrow.
Yes.
See you guys.
See you, gents.
Take care.
Coming in Hot is brought to you by Botano.ca. Please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to never miss an episode.